Good morning. Welcome to worship with the community of Westside Unitarian Universalist Church, where compassion leads us to work for justice and equality. My name is Carol Kappa, and I'm your worship leader this morning. I'm glad you're joining us for the service today. Congratulations for turning your clock forward so that you could be here to worship on time with us together. And it's my hope that this gathering will renew your sense of community and connection and nourish your heart, mind, and spirit. I want to thank our AV team volunteers today, co-host Caroline Nixon, and the co-hosts Cindy Fountain and Jonathan Sarmiento. And special thanks, of course, to Yuki Kumamoto for selecting and playing beautiful music throughout the service, as well as our loyal director of Lifespan Religious Education, Nikki Kennedy, and her selection and execution of our Time for All Ages. At Westside, we're raising the next generation of Unitarian Universalists, and we want them to know that they are an important part of our community. Several years ago, we chose to be radically inclusive and adopt a multi-generational worship where our services include all family members, so welcome to all children and youth. Westside is a community of many beliefs, genders, and sexualities, a community of diverse cultural, racial, class backgrounds, a community of varied abilities and gifts. Some here find inspiration in the great books, others in the great outdoors, and others still in great conversations. So whoever you may be, we welcome you to bring your whole self into this community. If you're so moved, you can try out the chat feature on Zoom by typing in some words of welcome to both our members and visitors for joining us this morning. And on behalf of this church community, I want to say to all, welcome. So now I invite you all to take a nice big deep breath. And from wherever you are, settle into this sacred space that we create together. And so now let us worship together as we listen to this morning's prelude performed by Yuki Kumamoto.
Our opening words today are from William R. Murry. I feel wonder and amazement at nature's majesty, beauty, complexity, and power. I feel joy and comfort among its trees or by its water, and refreshed and rejuvenated from working in its soil or walking in its woods. I feel reverence when I ponder the incomprehensible vastness of the universe, and equally mind-boggling smallness of the submicroscopic world, that the universe is, quote, infinite in all directions, unquote, is beyond my ability to imagine.
Our opening hymn this morning is Here Together, performed by the UU Church of Concord Choir.
And we're grateful for the
chalice will be lit today by Jennifer Long. She's the wife of our Interim Minister, Reverend Frieda Gillespie.
Good morning, Westside. Please join me by lighting your chalice at home if you have one. Our chalice lighting words this morning are by Audre Lorde. It is not our differences that divide us. It is our inability to recognize, accept, and celebrate those differences.
Our chalice lighting song is Be the Light by Leah Morris. This morning she has choir joining her.
When you're ready to see it, there's always light. When we're ready to be it, to see the light, to be the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill, together we will. There's always light. There's always light. When we're ready to see it, there's always light. There's always light. When we're ready to be it, to see the light, to be the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill, together we will. There's always shine. There's always light. There's always shine. There's always light. See the light, be the light, raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill, together we will. There's always shine. There's always light. There's always shine. There's always light. See the light, be the light, raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill, together we will. Be the light.
Please join me in reciting our affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace and to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. And our time for all ages will be presented by our Director of Lifespan Religious Education, Nikki Kennedy. The volume is a little low, so please turn up your speakers, and then after the video, you can turn them back down.
Good morning, Westside. My name is Addison, and Nikki Kennedy is my aunt.
Hi, my name's Emery, and Nikki Kennedy is also my aunt. Today we are sharing with you a book Reverend Frieda gave our nanny. It's called Choose Your Days by Paula Wallace. We are sharing this book today because we love what this book says about each of us having the power to choose how we make our days count. It's been a tough year, but we choose to make our days sunny or gray. We hope you'll choose to have sunny days.
Choose Your Days, written and illustrated by Paula Wallace. Dedicated with gratitude to all loved ones near or far, present or absent, who have lived their days with courage, compassion, and curiosity. When she was born, Corky was given calendars for all of her days by Old Bear, keeper of time and keys. She was also given a list to dream and to do, to mark each day and to name each line. From the wall of names, Old Bear took her keys. Choose your days, make them sunny or gray, he whispered. Choose your days, she whispered back. She grew. And she grew. and she grew. And the days flew until only a few remained. Now she was a little bent and a little gray, and wanted still to fill her day. With her small purse of coins, she asked Old Bear for a bit more time. For work undone, for play postponed, for music unsung. Old Bear leaned in close to her plea. "You hold the key," he reminded her. "Choose your days, make them sunny or gray." And when the play is played and the songs are sung, when the seas are sailed and the work is done, go to the dark cottage, unlock the door to wonder. Do not be afraid, I will wait for you there.
So our joys and concerns now will be shared by Kelly Flanagan, a representative of the pastoral care team.
Good morning and happy early St. Patrick's Day from an authentic Irish person. As we share our joys with others, those joys are multiplied. When other hearts know our joy shines all the brighter. As we share our concerns, our community can offer its care. When other hearts know our sorrow, our burden becomes lighter. This is the time in our service when we offer witness and support for one another's journeys. Please post in the chat if you have a joy or concern you would like to share with everyone today and for those who will watch the recording later. Joys and concerns can be submitted at any time via email to pastoralcare@westsideuu.org or through the web form, which is located on the Care and Support page of the church's website. This week's joys and concerns include, we have a joy from Debbie Rake that her beautiful granddaughter in Iowa, has COVID, but is recovering. We have another joy from Caroline Nixon. I got back to Fort Worth too late last Sunday to join service, but my joy is that I got to be in person at my son's first college football game. Isaac is the long snapper for Texas Southern University Tigers, the HBCU in Houston. And we got another joy. I just found out that I can get my first COVID vaccine next week. That's from Jennifer Long, and Frieda had hers yesterday. I have a joy from Diane Jones and Charlie that Tao is here today. And a joy from Jonathan and Rocio. Joy, our niece turned 6 today, and we're going to go see her later. Thank you for sharing those with us. It is good to share with one another as sharing draws our community closer together. Please know that our pastoral care associates are available to support you with deep listening and, when needed, through our InReach Fund for short-term financial support of members in need. We are here for you.
Thank you, Kelly. This morning's centering song is number 1009, Meditation on Breathing, performed by the Holston Valley UU Church Choir.
Good morning, dear ones at Westside. I invite you and your families to close your eyes and check the alignment of your spine as I begin. With the spirit of life and love and hope, let our hearts be full of gratitude as we share the joys of this community. And let us reach out in compassion to all who know sorrow as well, offering a loving presence to those in pain, whether spoken or unspoken. Remind us that we have a connection to one another, and may that connection bring us peace. I'd like to share a meditation, a poem by Lynn Unger, which I think is speaking to our anxiety and griefs during this pandemic. After I share the brief meditation, I will ring a bell to signal the start of your own meditation. And I'll ring a bell again when it's over. This poem is called The Way It Is. One morning, you might wake up to realize that the knots in your stomach had loosened itself and slipped away, and that the pit of unfulfilled longing in your heart had gradually, and without you really noticing, been filled in, patched like a pothole, not quite the same as it was, but good enough. And in that moment, it might occur to you that your life, though not the way you planned it, and maybe not entirely the way you wanted it, is nonetheless persistently, abundantly, miraculously, exactly the way it is.
May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Cindy Fountain, the Social Justice Committee Chair. West Side's service project for March is Meals on Wheels of Tarrant County. Meals on Wheels' mission is to promote the dignity and independence of older adults, persons with disabilities, and other homebound persons by delivering nutritious meals and providing or coordinating needed services. Meals on Wheels began in 1973 as a collaboration between 11 faith-based organizations in downtown Fort Worth to bring food to the elderly in the Central City area. Today, it serves all of Tarrant County, providing approximately 1 million meals each year. Westside member John Fisher is a Meals on Wheels recipient, and John has a big tricycle for transportation. He has some thoughts to share about Meals on Wheels. The big disadvantage to the tricycle is inclement weather. In this past freezing weather, Texas has been hit hard with record-shattering cold and power outages. I missed shopping because of the extended frigid weather, but for a couple of years now, I've been a Meals on Wheels recipient. I've always found the food to be nourishing, warm, and delicious. Meals on Wheels has been an invaluable supplement to what I can fit into the sizable but finite basket between trike's rear wheels. And Meals on Wheels volunteers are as unfailing as U.S. Mail Service was when my father was a letter carrier. But the unprecedented cold and snow closed down even Meals on Wheels for 3 days. Then on Thursday, through the snow-covered streets came a young Meals on Wheels driver bearing 3 non-perishable meals for me. I was going to make it. It was such a joy to see them, and joy is not a word I use promiscuously. Meals on Wheels does life-saving work, and I need to say a big thank you. Let's join John in thanking Meals on Wheels by contributing to this worthy organization. You can give online either through the church's giving page, and you'll see the link in the chat, or by using the Give Plus app. You just select the Service Project Fund. You can also mail a check to the church. Thank you so much for your offering, and please enjoy this musical offering from Yuki.
Thank you so much again for your generosity. Our reflection this morning is entitled, Religious Humanism is Not an Oxymoron, and it'll be given by our Interim Minister, the Reverend Frieda Gillespie. Up first is a special interlude performed by members Linda and Myron Ice.
There she is. Give it your best shot.
You are theist, I am humanist. I think that you're naive.
Me?
You have no proof to offer as truth. You simply say, I believe.
That's right.
New age bubbles get you in trouble, lost in a feel-good fluff.
Fluff?
True understanding is quite demanding. Praying is not enough.
Yes, it is.
Totally unprepared are you to make a case that's plain. Maybe the incense, chants, and drums have ruined your poor brain. You need someone older and wiser telling you what to do.
Nope.
You are theist, I am humanist. I will think for you.
So rude. I am a theist, you are a humanist. You're locked inside your head. You're existential, self-referential, claiming that God is dead. You can't do that. Occam's razor, Pascal's wager, soulless tautology. Wisdom traditions, not erudition, make much more sense to me. Totally unprepared are you to let go of your mind. How about a leap of faith, my friend? You might like what you find. When you find that you're out of answers, you won't know what to do.
I'll figure something out.
I am a theist, you are a
Yes, I am.
humanist. I will pray for you. We cannot agree on anything, each has a point of view. I am a theist,
I am a humanist.
that's why we're you.
One thing I've learned about this congregation is that just like every UU church, there are theists and humanist members, and a certain tension between them, especially in regard to worship. It has always been a challenge in UU churches, especially those that were formed as a fellowship that was largely humanist, to incorporate theist sensibilities into worship. The humanist viewpoint is the most common in churches that grew up in the 20th century and felt no allegiance to the Judeo-Christian ancestors who created the church centuries before us. When Bill Sinkford, the first person of color to become UUA president, began his tenure in 2000, he strongly recommended that UUism use more spiritual language in services. He felt that it would attract more people, and certainly more people of color. Gradually, God language and words like spirit became common. Also, words like love became more common. Reason took somewhat of a backseat. Many humanists have resisted this change. Carl Sagan proclaims, quote, "When we recognize our place in the immensity of light years and in the passage of ages, when we grasp this intricacy, beauty, and subtlety of life, then that soaring feeling, that sense of elation and humility combined is surely spiritual," unquote. When I was in seminary at Bright Divinity School, I was one of 3 UUs enrolled in the Masters of Divinity program. I had interviewed with the school before I applied, and I was told they really like the UUs at Bright because we ask real questions. We elevated the discussion when we were there. I was always somewhat nervous about that because the Christian students had their answers given to them, and we UUs had to think before we spoke, and we couldn't fall back on an authority like the Bible. For a long time, I laid low, not wanting to risk insulting the other students or showing my own ignorance and uncertainty. There was one remarkable occasion during a class on religious education where I was not given a choice, but had to think on my feet in regard to a really important question. The instructor was a young Disciples of Christ minister, very liberal, but definitely a Christian. He started the class one day by saying he had 2 baskets. One of them had slips of paper with each of our names on them. The other basket had questions, also on slips of paper. He said that he was going to draw out one of our names and then have us draw a question without looking. As soon as he announced this, I knew in my gut that I was going to be chosen. And I was. The instructor held up the basket of questions for me. He said, there's one in there, Frieda. I really hope you pick. And apparently I did pick it. I believe the question was something like, do you have to believe in Jesus to be saved? He knew I didn't have a belief in a supernatural Jesus, so he wanted to see how I would address the question. I used a technique we learned in class and asked the other students what they thought first. It was interesting because there were a number of my classmates who surprised me by answering no. One of them said they thought they might be a closet UU. So that went well. But then a student I was fairly friendly with asked me, I heard that UUs don't believe in Jesus. Is that true? They weren't making this easy on me. I answered, no, we don't, not in the way you mean. I said many of us find Jesus' teachings valuable and try to live by his principles. So that went okay too. Then my instructor said, since this happened today and you were chosen to speak, how about giving us an overview of Unitarian Universalism? I did my best in a kind of elevator speech fashion, but my instructor really got to the heart of things, finally, by saying, I don't understand how you find hope in your religion. When someone you love dies, how do you find comfort without a belief in Jesus or God? He mentioned that his sister had recently died. Now, if you don't believe in a supernatural Jesus or a God, you may find that question ridiculous. But the basic question, how do you find hope? Where do you find hope? Is not ridiculous. It's a very important question to all of us. Implicit in this question was, where do you find hope in spite of the reality of death? I talked about our faith in human beings, the power of our minds and hearts, and what we can do together. I also spoke about being in community and what that does for us. We've all been going through trauma this past year with the pandemic that has changed our lives so much, and some suffered the loss of loved ones due to the virus. There have been a number of crises, man-made and otherwise, that all seem to accumulate, making it hard to feel hopeful or optimistic. I spoke to my class that day about how we find comfort from other human beings and the beauty of the natural world of which we are a part. I don't know if I said what I would say today, which is that grief has its own purpose and timing within us. We don't try and avoid grief, but allow it to work through us and possibly change us or deepen us. We value the way our experiences make it possible for us to empathize with others who are suffering and offer them the comfort of knowing that they are not alone. I'm not sure any of this resonated with my instructor. He was clearly grieving an important and recent loss. But would he have felt any better if I had said, Jesus loves you? Perhaps those are the words he wanted to hear. I felt wholly inadequate to satisfy his need. Perhaps with more conversation and deep listening, we could have come to an understanding of each other. I want to commend to you the book Reason and Reverence by William R. Murry. In it, Murray attempts to describe a humanism for the 21st century. He attempts to build a rational bridge between humanism and what people call spiritual. I love this book because personally, it describes my theology more than anything written in modern times. I have always believed that we are a part of nature and not separate from it. How can it be otherwise? Murray describes a humanism that recognizes that reality. He calls it, quote, humanistic religious naturalism, unquote. But here's my only beef with this name. It's too long and hard to remember. Atheism, theism, humanism, even agnosticism are all simple and easy to remember. But this theology has 3 words, which is really excessive and hard to remember. Sadly for me, though, these 3 words describe my theology as perfectly as possible in shorthand. To break it down, humanistic, just like any garden variety humanism that affirms that we must seek meaning in the human experience rather than a supernatural being. Religious, because it affirms the importance of community with others for our well-being and our very power and survival. And finally, naturalism, because it affirms that we are created by and a part of nature. The same nature that created the honeybee and the passion flower and the annoying cat who always tries to get in on my Zoom calls. You may have seen her, whom, by the way, I love very much. The same nature that creates viruses and that causes earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, Arctic freezes and climate change. Not that we don't have a major part in causing it. Murray writes, quote, as part of the natural world, humans have a kinship with other beings. The cells in our bodies are basically the same as those in other life forms, although they are organized in different patterns. We are dependent on the resources of nature for our very survival and well-being, and we are made of the same stuff as the stars. Robert Weston's beautiful poetry still rings true. Out of the stars in their flight, out of the dust of eternity, here have we come. Out of the stars have we come, out of the sea to the land, up from the darkness to light, rising to walk and to fly, out of the sea trembled life. This is the marvel of life, rising to see and to know. Out of your heart, cry wonder, sing that we live. Many secular humanists find the word, quote, spirituality, unquote, inexplicable. What does it mean, really? It seems to be applied indiscriminately to many things in life, such as, I am not religious, but I am spiritual. Or the term spiritual growth. Is there any other kind, and why that descriptor? I think that spirituality has perhaps as many definitions as there are people who use it, and therefore, like the word God, it requires the user to explain what they mean and not just assume everyone else thinks as they do. Murray offers this definition for himself. Quote, spirituality is that which makes life vital and worth living, that which gives us something to live for, that which deepens and broadens our lives, that which makes us truly human, unquote. His definition is centered squarely in everyday life rather than anything otherworldly or supernatural. Murray also writes, quote, at the very least, spirituality involves forging deeper connections with others, with one's inner life and with nature. Most of us live too much of our lives at a shallow and superficial level. It seems to me that the isolation as a result of COVID has made us aware of this and given us greater incentive to connect with others. Rather than a New Age story or a biblical story, evolution is the story that humanists use to explain life and death. Murray writes, our story has several important religious implications. Most importantly, it tells us that we all share a common ancestor. In the words of Brian Swim and Thomas Berry, every living being of Earth is cousin to every other being. We are all one family, and that suggests that we should be more loving and more tolerant of the diversity of beliefs and perspectives among us. It also implies that we should treat other life forms with greater respect, for we are all part of one holy global ecosystem. And what of death? Humanists believe that death is not evil, but it is final. The fact that it is final, scientists say, makes it possible for all life forms to exist beyond single-cell organisms. Did you know this? Religious naturalist Ursula Goodenough writes, "Death is the price paid to have trees and clams and birds and grasshoppers, and death is the price paid to have human consciousness, to be aware of all that shimmering awareness and all that love. My physical life is the wondrous gift wrought by my forthcoming death." To explain this concept, we have to have an understanding of evolutionary biology, but perhaps we can take it on faith. Faith in science for now. That is the way it really works. Since we don't believe in an afterlife, we can focus on making this life that we've been given the best, most meaningful that we can, to play a role in making the world a better place for all and for our children's future. What humanistic religious naturalism is all about is becoming human. Murray explains, it is about the transformation from a shallow life of fear, greed, hedonism, and materialism to a meaningful life of love and caring, gratitude and generosity, fairness and equity, joy and hope, and a profound respect for others. Years ago, a woman wrote this to me, quote, "I've been reading your sermons online, and I really love them. I'm a science teacher in Kansas, and I'm not allowed to talk about evolution in my classroom. I've been threatened with being fired if I do. You kept me from being completely alone," unquote. I wrote back to her, but never heard from her again. Quote, "All life on Earth has a common ancestor, a single-celled organism from which all humans, as well as all other living organisms, have evolved." Murray says, about 600 million years ago, can you imagine how long ago that is? I can't even begin to. Multicellular organisms arose, simple and small at first, then larger and more complex. About 200 million years ago, mammals emerged. Over millions of years, they slowly developed feelings and emotional sensitivity, the ability to see and enjoy the beauty of the world and to feel fear in the face of its terror. Eventually, these qualities deepened into conscious self-awareness. That, in a nutshell, is a good part of the story of evolution, our story. I'd like to end this with one of my favorite Mary Oliver poems, and it seems apropos here. It's called "The Gift." I wanted to thank the mockingbird for the vigor of his song. Every day he sang from the rim of the field while I picked blueberries or just idled in the sun. Every day he came fluttering by to show me, and why not, the white blossoms in his wings. So one day I went there with a machine and played some songs of Mahler. The mockingbird stopped singing. He came close and seemed to listen. Now when I go down to the field, a little Mahler spills through the sputters of his song. How happy I am, lounging in the light, listening as the music goes by. And I give thanks also for my mind that thought of giving a gift. And mostly I'm grateful that I take this world so seriously. May it be so for all of us.
Our closing hymn this morning is Mary Chapin Carpenter's Why Shouldn't We? And it's performed by Reverend Frieda's stepson, Ben Long.
All I hear is our prayer.
Our closing words are from Octavia Butler, my favorite science fiction writer. Tolerance, like any aspect of peace, is forever a work in progress, never completed, and if we're as intelligent as we like to think we are, never abandoned.
Please join me in the congregational closing as we extinguish our chalices. Let us go in peace, believe in peace, and create peace in our lives and in the world. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.